button hit.
All right. You ready to rock and roll?
I think I am. You ready?
Good. I'm ready if you're ready.
All right, let's do this shit.
Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Art of Losing Your Butt and Finding Your Why. I'm Doug.
And I'm Christy.
And this week's going to be something a little different. We're talking about some, tips, tricks, things with your weight loss journey. And this is one that I had a really hard time with, and it's food journaling. And a lot of you are going to hear that and think, but I promise you there's a lot to it that you can gain. And for me, it was really, really insightful, the things that I learned after I did it and committed myself to it for even a short period of time, just seeing how things were going. And when I say that, I don't mean just about tracking macros or tracking your calories. This is you keeping a book throughout the day, every day, with you. And for each meal, you're going to be writing down.
Well, not just meal. Anytime you put something in your mouth.
Anytime you put something in your mouth, excuse me.
Anytime you put something in your mouth.
Right, tracking all your food. All
You want to write down what you're eating, how much of what you're eating, the time, the place. Don't hang in there with me. Your actual hunger level.
How hungry you were when you ate something. Okay.
And what feelings you're feeling at that moment.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a key one.
That is a big key one.
Yeah.
Now, you're gonna laugh. Why do you care where I'm eating this? Because it's gonna show triggers.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine, I'll be open and honest. Mine was the car. And what was I eating? Little Debbie's.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
How was I feeling? Depressed, stuck. I all the negative emotions, that whole side of the wheel, I was feeling them at that time.
Yep. And for myself, I found out that my spot is, and still is, can be, if I'm not careful, is my dinner and after dinner. But only when I'm at home. And generally only after a long day of work and me going light or skipping meals throughout the day. Or it happens to coordinate at the same time with a night that I stayed up late, usually, is when, it's always a joke with me that a friend of mine who is like a mother to me, my ex-boss, had always said that nothing good happens after midnight. And it was always this joke between us about how I would find myself going light on a meal, like skipping breakfast, because I was on my way to work, I was in a hurry. Lunch, I'm in a restaurant, we're busy, we snack throughout the day, but you don't really think about the little things like a bite of chicken salad or a bite of egg salad or a piece of bacon here or there. You don't add that up until you realize what all you've eaten throughout the day. But I would find myself not eating lunch or just taking a couple bites of something for lunch and getting back to work. And then I would get home, I just worked a 10 or 11 hour shift, and I went to the gym after work. I got home, I tried to eat something for dinner, and then all of a sudden some cravings just came on later at night. And I stayed up late trying to get a project done or trying to get some schoolwork done. And next thing you know, it's 11:30 at night, and I find myself foraging. I say foraging, but it's kind of my joke of you going through the pantry, or just digging out something that.
Because then you get hungry and you don't know what you're hungry for, so you try everything.
Right, and you don't feel like cooking anything because of how late it is.
Right.
So it's like, oh, I have some milk that I was cooking with, some whole milk, and I've got some cereal stashed away up there. Maybe I'll have a bowl of cereal. But not serving size, not a half a cup or a cup of cereal. You go for the salad bowl that you have in the pantry or in the cupboard, and you pour half the box of cereal in there and have 600 calories of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and whole milk.
So
I'm fidgeting because this is something that's actually happened.
Okay, so just so you know that you're not alone, I actually dated a guy that he had his own dad's cereal bowl.
Cereal bowl?
And it was a mixing bowl.
Yeah, that's what I use.
It took almost the whole thing of cereal.
Yeah, it's a couple
and
bowls.
half a gallon of milk. And he would eat that at night.
I don't know where all these extra calories are coming from because I skipped breakfast and lunch, But I had a quart and a half of whole milk and 7 cups of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Oh, maybe that's where they came from.
Yeah.
Right before I went to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, and even before I started doing the binging with Little Debbie, and now it's more common for me with if I skip the meals during the day because I'm busy at work.
Yes.
And we do get, I'm in healthcare, so yeah, we get stupid
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
But then what I'll do is I find out I get home and now I gotta eat something because just to satiate the hunger.
Yes.
But then I find myself grazing
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still hungry and I'm still hungry. And then, well, I can't wait for dinner or, I have dinner and there's like, oh, but I'm still hungry.
Go back for more.
Because I didn't get enough all day.
Right.
And see, that's what used to be my issue was I wouldn't eat all day long.
Right. Right.
And then before I went home after work, I would get rid of that bad day and get over the fact that I had to go to where I was living, and I would down 4 or 5 boxes of Little Debbie's.
Right. It was the
double
escape.
fisting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really does. The journaling, it seems very tedious at first for myself. I had a really hard time in the beginning. And, again, you don't, I'm not saying to go all in overnight. Just start the process of getting used to doing it. And eventually it'll come naturally. And eventually you'll learn that you will associate that every time your hand goes to your mouth, you're reaching for a pen to write it down.
Right.
And just, it doesn't have to be crazy descript, it can be just kind of like, what you ate, time of day, how you were feeling and where you were at, because it will help you identify things. Like I will find that on a particularly stressful day at work, if I added up throughout the day what I ate, on that day I ate 700 calories more than a normal day, because it was a particularly stressful day, something went wrong that day, and you will learn after you look back through. You'll start to make these realizations and, start to see where your triggers are, where things have happened to you. If I skip breakfast, I'm prone to overeating and late night snacking. Mm-hmm. If I go to sleep early the night before and I'm well rested, I seem to be able to eat in a deficit and stick with it without a problem.
Yeah.
That's my personal experience. I'm just sharing that with you, that I've learned that if I am running low on sleep, I am in a bad position the next day. My hunger spikes. My hunger for bad things spikes when I am not well rested. If I'm low on sleep, I will find myself craving just stupid things I can't even describe it to you, but in a normal day, nothing sounds better than me than some grilled chicken and rice and a little bit of fresh pineapple for lunch. But if I got 4.5 hours of sleep last night, all of a sudden I find myself going for a Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwich and Uncrustables out of the freezer, and just a peanut butter, 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or a bag of chips, and for me chips are dangerous because they just add up so fast, and you just do this and you don't realize it's just a mindless thing, and that's a danger for me because.
So it also, it helps you create accountability for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. You become accountable quick.
Yeah.
Quick.
But one of the other things, and I had my husband keep track of what he was eating because he kept breaking out in little spots that were itchy.
Oh, okay.
But he wouldn't have them all the time.
Right.
So I'm like, it's got to be a food allergy
If you got
of
a
some
sensitivity
sort.
or something?
So I was like, start keeping track of what you're eating, when you're eating it, and when these things pop up. And what we found out is it looks like he's developing a gluten allergy.
Oh.
Yeah, because they're little bumps that pop up when
Oh,
people have.
darn.
Yeah, and so now we gotta watch the gluten,
Huh.
which is really sad for him because his favorite thing to eat is just bread.
That's funny. That's cool that you figured it out, because most people develop sensitivities, food allergies. You have to go through a really rigorous thing where you reset your diet. You cut everything out of your diet and then slowly add
And
things
that's one of the
back
things
in.
that
That's not easy.
This helps you kind of spot those reaction times.
Right.
So if you're, if you notice you get, a scratchy throat, and you're writing down everything you eat every day, and 2 days later you got the scratchy throat again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did I eat today? What did I eat? 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a kiwi. Maybe that's it.
Right.
Let's
Right.
not eat a kiwi, let's eat the kiwi and see if I can scratch your throat.
See if it happens again. Right.
All right. Well, maybe I shouldn't be eating the kiwi.
I'll tell you, for me, another one, again, talking about strange things like this that happen, that you learn from journaling, that I figured out that when I am eating dairy, if I go higher on dairy, I get psoriasis flare-ups.
Oh.
I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know what the association is there, but I figured out that when I was eating higher dairy, as far as cottage cheese, milks, especially like whole milk or that kind of stuff with cooking, my psoriasis would somehow come back. Not terrible, especially in the summertime it seems to kind of go away, but for some reason, if I'm eating higher amounts of dairy throughout the day, it trends that after like 4 days of eating dairy, that next week, I would find myself like noticing like a patch of dry skin or a patch of psoriasis pop up on my scalp or, you know, my
that would
elbows or
kill
trigger
me.
areas, and I was like, oh. And then I figured, I figured the journal, I'm looking at trends, and I'm sitting there looking at all the things that I ate, and it's like, oh, I had a bowl of cereal for dessert for whatever, say 3 nights in a row, and heavy cream, different foods with a lot of milk and creams in them. And it's like, oh, what about milk? And then I eliminated milk for a week to see what would happen, and my psoriasis went away. And it was like, oh, okay. So how much can I add back in? And it's one of those things that you can play with, and you can learn, how much you can handle before your body, whatever the inflammatory response, whatever it is that's causing that flare up, you can work with that.
And that's what it
worked for me.
Yeah, that's one of the things too, is when you're keeping track of what you're eating every day, you can also make sure that you're getting a balanced diet.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're getting enough protein, you're getting, because it's not only just your macros, protein, carbs, fats.
Right.
It's also those micronutrients.
Right.
Are you getting your vitamins? Are you eating the colors of the rainbow?
Have
and
you
that's-
have you not eaten vegetables in 3 days?
Yeah. So those type of things, and
Right.
and some of the things are eat the rainbow. There's reason for that,
Right.
because eating the rainbow gives you micronutrients all the way through,
Yeah.
and that helps you just as much as your macros.
Oh yeah, and you can correct it, once you see it. Like I say 3 days in a row about not eating vegetables because that's again a personal thing. I found myself going very heavy on protein, pretty decent on fats and some carbs, but no greens. It was like, oh, so what if I start putting some spinach on top of start putting my burger patty on top of a bed of spinach instead, instead of like a low carb roll or a tortilla or something like that. And just working stuff like that in, and it was like, oh, or adding some tomato, or having a broccoli salad to go with. Something like a tossed broccoli salad.
Or in my case, you found out that you were ODing yourself on spinach.
Yeah.
That causes problems too.
Right.
That roughage doesn't want to come out because
People,
it's iron. So yeah, that's why I make sure that I do more of the chopped salads with cabbage and that
chopped
kind of
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that in the beginning I was like, this is silly. I didn't see what was going to become of it. I didn't really see the benefits and the positive outcomes that could come from this. Certainly not as much as what I've learned in the time that I've done it. And eventually I faded to going, now that I've learned what I've learned, I can adapt with that. And again, you can go through it, I don't do it for some time, and then I find myself, something flares up or I have an off day, and I go, you know what, maybe I should start tracking that again, and I start doing it again. If you do it every day, then you're great. Just don't give it up and just keep doing it, and you have a log book showing your progress of how you've been doing, and you can see every day just where things went wrong, where things went right, where you need to correct, triggers, stressors, things that set you off, bad events that may have triggered something, good events that may have triggered something. And it really, for me now, I'm more about tracking my food, but like I use an app for that, and it's very easy to just put a little note with it a lot of times that says, wasn't very hungry, mood was happy, or something, a little note in there that just keeps me on, of a log, of something I can go back on. And I can see myself throughout the week where my calories are at, because for me personally, it's about my calories in, calories out right now. I'm just trying to keep myself in a little bit of a deficit 6 days out of the week and just start going back to losing again.
Yep.
So, but everybody's different, you got to find out what works for you. You got to find out,
And
experiment. Some people do good with this on their phones. Some people hate doing it on their phones, and they get a physical book, like a composition book, or even like a small little notebook to keep with you, just a little guy, and just a little pen to stick in there and keep it in your back pocket.
Yep.
And most people will be surprised. I think there's a whole research study on how like 99% of people underestimate the calories they eat on a daily basis
Well,
by
portions.
like 650 calories a day. 650 calories a day is like a pound and a half of weight loss on the, it's a pound and a quarter of weight loss every week if you were to, actually have that accounted for properly. So for me, it just keeps me on track, keeps me on the right path. The accountability is the biggest thing.
Well, and
Because
the
if
thing
I'm not
is,
held accountable, I will start to slide sometimes.
it'll help you learn your portion sizes too.
Oh yes, definitely.
I strongly recommend that you look up your hand equivalents.
Right.
Because that does make it easier
Yep.
to guesstimate. Because in our eyes, this is just a cup. No, that's kind of like 2 cups right there.
Right.
Because here in America, we supersize everything.
Right.
So we don't really know what a real serving is.
Right. You tell someone to show you 4 ounces of beef, or 6 ounces of chicken, and they're going to be off by quite a bit usually, one way or the other. And that's not so bad for one meal, but if you're misjudging one way or the other in the wrong, 3 meals, 4 meals a day, it's going to add up quick.
Yep.
And I didn't know anything about that at all because I had no sense of portions before I started losing weight. I really, truly had no, like I talk about that salad bowl for cereal, that was my everyday life. That
Which
was
is really-
everything. That was all of it. It was, it was 2 breakfast sandwiches for breakfast. It was,
Which cracks me up because you're a chef.
Yeah. Yeah, once, it was one of those
Because
things.
I know you can,
Yep.
when you're cooking,
Cooking, totally different.
you can judge
Personally.
ounces. Yeah.
Right. Personally,
Yeah.
I didn't see anything wrong with it. Even though I knew in my head, this is all part of the psychological game that comes with obesity and mental health issues that you may have along with it, like myself. I weigh out foods all day. I prepare foods for, from just everyday people up to fancy dinners in people's homes. So I know what all that looks like. Now, on the other hand, when I go to eat something back then, and I find myself eating a 12-ounce burger patty, I didn't see anything wrong with that, is what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
to you, when I know damn well in my head that, most burger patties are 4 ounces.
Right, I was gonna say.
I'm eating 3/4 of a pound of meat in a sitting, along with other stuff, mind you, please, along with mayonnaise and ketchup and everything on top, and maybe a fried egg and all kinds of other craziness. But in my head, I saw nothing wrong with that, is what I mean to say. I know darn well that a cup is a serving size of cereal, and yet here I am with an 8-cup bowl with 5 cups of cereal in it, a quart of whole milk, and I'm just like, that's perfectly normal at 10:30 at night after dinner. And this is just dessert. I'm not eating ice cream or anything. It's not that bad. It's sick. It's sick what your mind will play tricks on itself, and you don't realize until, again, you start that food journal, you start realizing, oh my God,
No.
look at this.
I just find it funny though because Gary and another friend of mine, chefs as well, and they can just reach into a bowl and pull out exactly 4 ounces
Yes.
of ground beef.
Yes, I can eyeball weight,
But
you wouldn't
when-
believe.
But when, like you said, when they're making them for themselves, they're just like, I'm like,
Yeah,
to me that, yeah.
yeah, it's
It's called,
what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It should be, but
Yeah.
it's not that way sometimes.
my husband said, well, when we're cooking in a restaurant, it's cost per serving.
Yes.
That when we're worried about the bottom line,
Yes.
we're at home. This is
Yes.
all mine.
This is me. I paid for this. I work for this. I'm eating a 10-ounce burger. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy. It is because and I also we've mentioned in a previous episode about things and portion sizes, and covering that too is I realized the other night going through my cabinet, really realized from my childhood, all of the plates that we had were not traditional sized dinner plates. Some people have like a 7-inch or a 9-inch dinner plate. All of the dinner plates in my home were all 12 and 14-inch dinner
Ooh.
plates. And I started looking up on the top shelf of all the old plates that I had because I didn't throw them out, but I got new dinner plates because everyone said about starting with a smaller plate,
Right.
you would eat a smaller amount and you'd have to go back for more and you would find yourself eating less. So that was one of my tricks in the beginning, like a mind trick. Start with a smaller plate, fill it up, and then after you eat that, you're like, wow, I ate that whole plate of food. And psychologically, you'll find yourself feeling fuller usually, rather than overfilling a giant plate and
Right.
then end up feeling guilty about having food left over on there. You don't want to throw it away. You don't want to save it, and you end up eating that extra food that's on the plate. But then when I started looking through, I'm like, oh my God, all my dinner plates, all of our old dinner plates from my childhood are all 12 and 14 inch, I mean, big plates.
And there's, yeah, and see, that's the thing that cracks me up, because looking at the, around the holidays,
Mm-hmm.
the paper plates,
Mhm.
because you know, everybody gets paper plates now. But
Yep.
your traditional 9-inch paper plate,
Yes.
but then they bring out these special paper plates for like Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Thanksgiving.
And they're huge.
And they're 12 and 14 inches, the same exact, I swear to
I
you.
mean, they
Same
are
plates that I had all the
huge.
time. Yep.
And I'm thinking, no wonder we got problems in this country.
Because when you have Thanksgiving dinner and you have 8 sides, turkey, ham, you know, everything under the sun, you're not going back for seconds. You're going to put a scoop of everything on one big old giant plate, you know.
And take off.
Right.
Wow.
Along with some buttered clover leaf rolls or yeast rolls, and those are stacked on
You know,
top. and-
stop.
Yeah, all on one big plate is what I mean to say. It's not like, you know, some fancy dinner where,
haven't had
you know,
dinner
there's a bread plate and a salad bowl. No. Nope, we got 15-inch dinner plates, and them bad boys will, yeah. You can fit 3 or 4 of them on the dinner table, maybe. They're so big. And that was normal. I didn't know anything, just like the
So,
fortune
and that's the
teller.
other thing too. I mean, when you start journaling about your food, that's one of the things you realize
Yep.
is, you know, things that are ingrained in you are wrong.
Yes.
And
Right.
oh, maybe I need to change things. Maybe this is why I've always had a problem.
Yeah.
You know.
That's what it was. The other night I was making something, and it was going to take up. I was going to put sliced baked bread. We had some fresh bread from the bakery, and I was going to put slices of bread on the plate as well to go with the food. And I was like, oh, I'll get a bigger plate for this. And I reached up top, and when I pulled the plate down and I looked at it next to my normal plate that I had originally, from what I had switched over to, and it's been probably 4 years since I had those big plates down. And I go, oh my God. These things are double the size of the plates I use now. And I used to fill these up. And that, it just hit me out of nowhere. And I'm talking about, years later, finally realizing, oh, this is what I was raised on.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, this is perfectly normal.
No. And
But
we're
it's
also
not.
raised eating in front of the TV, and that's why where is important.
Right. The where, about where
And
you were
who
at.
you're with.
Yes.
Because you tend to eat more when you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
And you tend to eat more when you're in front of the TV. You do tend to eat less when you're in a social situation.
Mm-hmm. You do a little more talking.
Yeah.
There's not time for you to just sit there and scarf or,
So that's why it's important to keep those things in mind too. Is who you're with, where you're at, because that is important.
It is.
It helps pick out those patterns, because if you realize that, oh man, I come home every Tuesday night and I scarf.
Right.
Why am I doing that? Oh, because you know what? The husband works late that night and I'm home alone.
I'm alone. Yeah.
You're bored, you're lonely.
Yeah, boredom is also one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Under the emotional part of it, you're putting down your mood. You find yourself being bored. You'll make that realization quick.
Yeah.
It can be stress. It can be it can be anger. It can be emotional. Emotional eating is certainly a thing too, but also boredom. Boredom will sneak up on you when you don't, or not exactly don't have anything to do, but maybe you were just sitting around, taking a break. It wasn't quite dinner. It wasn't quite bedtime yet.
Yeah, and the thing is too, when you're just sitting around and not really doing anything, that's when our minds tend to wander about things we really don't want to think about.
Yeah.
And that gets us into that cycle as well of eating when we shouldn't be eating. And that's the other thing too. You could be eating extra because, and I hate to say this, but you're not getting what you need from your romantic partner.
Right.
you know?
Oh, yeah, it can be
So
all
you're
kinds of-
substituting, you know, the food.
Yep.
Because it gives you that warm fuzzy feeling that you're not getting from your, you know. And I know that's how it started with me.
Right.
So, yeah, it's one of those things.
It certainly can happen. You will make some. You will definitely realize some things through journaling. You know that it just happens to be that every Monday night you have a meeting at work that's highly stressful, and every Monday night you tend to overeat at dinner. You know, something like that. Or every night your husband works late and you feel a little bit more alone, you tend to have an extra big bowl of ice cream. You know, in the end, food is going to produce a dopamine response and you know, activating pleasure centers in your brain. So, like any other addiction, at the basis of it, you find yourself knowing that if your brain realizes that food equals pain, pleasure, and food takes away the pain, that can apply to emotional pain, physical pain, anything. Any kind of stress, anything that causes you any kind of discomfort, you can very well make that connection in your brain. And once you do,
And then it's like, ooh, cool, I'm home alone. Those calories, if nobody sees me
No,
eat them, they don't count.
it doesn't count. Nobody knows but me.
Right.
So,
And
if I
that's,
have an
that's the
extra
games we
scoop-
play with ourselves.
Yeah, you can trick yourself. Your brain will trick itself in so many ways. It's not even funny.
So now we have to change our mindset to do it the right way.
Right.
And that's what your food journaling will do for you.
Yeah. And once you start tracking it, you know, when you start seeing progress, start feeling a little bit leaner, shirt fits a little looser, number on the scale goes down a little bit, and you go look back on your week and you realize you've been making positive changes, and that's why all these things are going in the right direction. You start making positive affirmations about yourself and where you're headed, and that you're unstoppable then.
Yeah.
Once you start down that path, just like the negativity, just like the negative ball rolls downhill faster and faster, or you know, it's the same way with positivity. Once you start down a good path and you're on it, you know, you're not going to want to screw it up. You look at that food journal and realize for 3 weeks now you've been on the ball. Everything's been fantastic. You've been losing weight every day. Your mood says that you've been feeling good, happy, excited to get to the gym, this and that, and you find yourself wanting to make a bad decision. Pull out that damn journal, I swear to you, and start looking back.
Yep.
And you'll say, you know what, why am I going to screw this up right now? I'm doing so good. I'm not. You know, I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to wonder why I'm feeling this way. Why am I about to make this decision? And think about it before you eat.
Yep.
And if it works for me, I swear to you, it's going to work for you. You know, just take it slow. Start small and try it.
Yep. Give it a try. Let us know how it goes for you. Remember to give us a comment, subscribe, and you know, share us.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like the video, and we hope to see you guys again next week.
All right, see ya.
Thanks.